Good day and welcome, everyone. I'm Tony C., and you found the EcoSports Podcast, your place for everything UFF sports and its ecosystem. Let's get started. Welcome to episode 1. It's our first podcast ever, and my name is Tony. I'm one of the founders of UFF Sports, and we're going to talk a little bit about our platform, who we are, what we've done, what we plan on doing, and what we're building. Then we'll talk a little bit about the podcast, why we're doing it, and what we hope to achieve with our podcast. What is UFF Sports? UFF Sports is a fantasy sports ecosystem built on the Ethereum blockchain. We're taking the concept of fantasy sports and applying it to digital assets and building the entire system on the blockchain. UFF Sports is a decentralized, autonomous organization. Unlike mainstream companies, we will run completely decentralized, completely organic, and become a worldwide ecosystem, which is pretty unique in the space, pretty unique in business in general, but definitely somewhere where the future is in these type of organizations built on the blockchain. So we're bringing fantasy sports to that world. Our team, a little bit about our team. We are 10 founders based in Western Canada. The 10 founders are the original seed investors that have put in the money, have came up with the ideas, are involved daily in implementing the ideas. We have a coding team in South Carolina and also a marketing team in Texas that we're working with that are building out our platform, building our brand, moving the entire concept forward. We are, like I said, we're based in Western Canada. We have a background in sports, background in cryptocurrencies, and a background in business. A few of us are business owners, and we've come together to make this project happen. Let's talk a little bit about the podcast and what we want to achieve with the podcast. The podcast is going to be a place to go to find information on our ecosystem. We plan on updating all our community members on how the system is working, on the updates, on the improvements, on the tech side, on the expansion of the ecosystem worldwide. We also want to have a better understanding of what the ecosystem is, what we're talking about when we talk about ecosystem, and why that's different than a fantasy sports company. We'll talk a lot about that on our podcast and try to educate everybody what it is we're achieving. Community updates, tech updates, talk a lot about fantasy sports, of course. That's what our business is all about. Strategies, we'll be bringing on other podcasters, other experts in the field. Also just talking straight about sports. We plan on doing that as well. Different sports, the major sports, the minor sports, sports around the whole world, educating people about sports. So that'll also be part of our goal on the podcast. Because we're a crypto company and we believe in crypto and in blockchain, we'll certainly be talking about crypto, markets, tech, what the future is, bringing on crypto experts, Ethereum experts, people just helping us understand the blockchain and why we use it and what advantages there will be in the future as we go along. We'll also be using the podcast to educate people about decentralized autonomous organizations, a very new concept, a very new strategy in business. We plan on educating people why we chose that way, plan on educating people of the advantages of using a DAO, and talking about the advantages of being decentralized, which is something that is going to be very commonplace word in the future, and it has to do with blockchain, has to do with cryptos, and they make it possible. We plan on bringing on lots of guests, lots of experts in these different fields, and just building the conversation, expressing our ideas, getting new ideas, new innovations for this ecosystem, and adding to it. Let's maybe go through what things make us different. Why are we different than every other fantasy platform? Why do we think we can compete with them? Why we think we can spread our idea around the entire world? The first thing that makes us very unique, we believe, in our ecosystem compared to other fantasy sports, is ownership. When you play our game, you own the digital asset that you have. Every player, every franchise, every league will be made into a digital asset that will be hashed on the Ethereum blockchain. And every one of those assets will have an owner. There'll be an owner for every franchise. That franchise owner will own all the players on their team. They will own prospects. And this ownership is for life. You will only have one of the NHL franchises. You will only have one of the NFL franchises. And there will only be as many there are in the real play. You'll also own your players. The players that you acquire, you own them forever until you decide to trade them or sell them. If a digital asset, if a player, a representation of a player retires, you still own that asset. So one of the common themes on our platform is ownership. As a franchise owner, you act as an owner. You make decisions as an owner would in real life, unlike any other fantasy sports league. We'll go over a few more things that make us very unique. Part of having the assets on the blockchain is scarcity. Because they're on the blockchain, no one player can ever be duplicated. There will only be one player in play on the ecosystem in the entire world, always. And that scarcity will attract bigger and better players, better owners, people that want to make gains within the game with these digital assets. The scarcity is what gives them value within our system. And as I mentioned earlier, those digital assets make us very unique. You actually have a digital representation on the blockchain of your player and of your team, and you keep them until the day comes that you decide to sell them. So, for example, there's 31 teams in the NHL. There will only be 31 franchises in the UFF sports ecosystem. The next topic that makes the UFF sports ecosystem completely different than anything else is scouting. So scouting is a concept that we've come up with and is possible because of the blockchain, where people go out and buy prospects starting when a prospect is 15 years old and up. They'll be able to be registered on the blockchain by a scout, and a scout will own that digital asset. Once you own that digital asset, you're able to sell them or trade them to other scouts. But ultimately, your goal is to sell that digital asset, that prospect, to a pro franchise when that digital asset or that player makes the pro league. You can then sell that player to a franchise owner who will want that player because he's acquiring points in the league. Scouting becomes more complex as the ecosystem grows. As the ecosystem grows, we will have leagues in junior, in semi-pro, where as a scout, if you own that digital asset, you're able to use that or lease that digital asset to other league owners to continue to play within the game. It's a very unique concept. We will go into it in more detail, but scouting is what sets our ecosystem apart from everything else. You can think of our blockchain as a ledger of all the players that have ever played any sport. We will get to every sport. We will get to every league. We will register every player, active prospects, retired players will even be registered on our blockchain as digital assets to be used within the ecosystem. That makes us unique. That makes us different than everything out there, and it's made possible by the blockchain. As I said, we will also be building leagues, selling franchises in the minor leagues, all junior leagues, in all sports. We will also have in the future leagues for retired players in every league that can. As long as we have stats on them, we will be able to create simulated leagues, simulated play, where you can use your digital asset within the ecosystem. Another important, very important difference between UFF Sports and any other sports company is we will be completely decentralized. There will be no owners. Our decentralized autonomous organization will be run by the people participating in the ecosystem. We will certainly go into more detail on how that works and why that can work, and the solutions that it solves, or the problems that it solves, sorry. And it enables us to grow this ecosystem across the entire world in any country that chooses to participate. As we get the platform built, the platform will become its own ecosystem, building out in ways that we can't even imagine. That is the goal of UFF Sports. One other part of our ecosystem that gives us an advantage is our SCORE token, which will be launched April 1st. The SCORE token is the currency within the ecosystem. It's an ERC20 token built on Ethereum, can be purchased with Bitcoin or Ethereum, and that's how all the transactions will happen within the ecosystem. The advantage that this gives us is the ability to play our game, grow our ecosystem in any country in the world with ease. There's no barrier in payment. It helps us move value around the entire world, helps people participate that have different currencies. It helps people participate around the entire world. And I think having that token really opens up a lot of opportunities. I also want to go over just an update on where we started, where we're at, and what we plan on doing in the coming year. I think if anyone is new to us, I can go over where we came from, and anyone that's been with us from the beginning, will be a little bit of an overview and a little bit of a vision of where we're going forward. We started the project in September 2019. Got together the team, got together the idea, worked through some different concepts, put it together, and started building. Hired our team of coders, and the beta version was released in January 15th. 17th was our first auction, where we started our NHL league. So we currently have 20 owners of the 31 franchises. We're still selling off the final 10, so you have the ability to pick one up in the NHL before the end of the season. We don't anticipate they'll be around long. We held this original auction where we sold off franchises, taught people how to use a system, how the game works, how the blockchain works, how cryptocurrency works. So it's been a big learning curve for the team. It's been a big learning curve for our new partners, our new owners that own NHL franchises. We've worked through a lot of glitches, worked through different rule changes, and it's for sure still evolving, but we are excited to have the first league up and running. The next big event will be the NHL playoffs will come up, and we'll be introducing a very unique playoff structure to fantasy sports, one that's, we don't know, unique to every other one that I've ever seen. So we'll be launching that in the spring. As our our platform is being improved steadily, the founders continue to invest money, continue to improve the platform. We will be adding the Canadian Football League to our platform this spring. The Canadian Football League is a minor or semi-pro football league in Canada, a 9-team league. So we've chosen that league because we're familiar with it. We're all from Canada. It's only 9 teams. Football is the holy grail in fantasy sports, so we want to play around with a smaller league, kind of figure out the ins and outs, get the team sold, get some players sold, and start that league on our ecosystem. That will bring new challenges as it's a new sport, but we continue to build, continue to get better. That's our plan. As well as starting the CFL League in the spring, we will also start scouting in pro hockey. So once the NHL playoffs are over, we'll nail down a date and we will begin scouting. So people will be able to register as scouts and be able to participate in this original scout auction, where we will auction off the top prospects, top 200 prospects, and any prospects that don't go in that auction or are not in that auction will be available to register. So a person can simply find that prospect, collect their data, and pay a fee and put them on the blockchain. And they will own that player for as long as that player is around. So that'll also be happening. As well, another event that will happen is an entry or it's called an entry auction, where the current hockey franchise owners will participate in an auction where they can acquire top prospects from scouts. So basically, this is a chance for the first chance for the NHL franchise teams to choose new prospects and buy them from scouts. This will be in an auction format, which we'll go over when we introduce the playoff structure. We'll introduce that and how the auction works. There will also be another annual event, which will be a 15-year-old prospect event. So what will happen this summer, after in the late summer, is registered scouts will have the ability on a certain day to begin to register 15-year-old players. So top young prospects that scouts can pick up in an auction. Top prospects will be auctioned off, and then any other 15-year-old prospects can be registered on the blockchain. So that will also be happening this summer. Those auctions and drafts are annual events that will happen every year in hockey. In terms of registering players can be registered on the blockchain from anywhere in the world, any country in the world, from any league in the world. As long as they meet the requirements, they'll be able to be registered on the blockchain, and they will be used, or they will be yours. After those events are completed, we plan on looking at starting NBA franchises this fall. We have not confirmed this 100%. It's in our roadmap. We have a few software things that need to be built out before that can happen, but we will be making an announcement this summer on whether we're going ahead with basketball or not. But that will be our next league, and then we'll continue on from there, from league to league, moving around the world and moving into different levels as we go. We have a lot of work to do, but it's going to be a lot of fun. We think we have a great concept. We are very confident in the blockchain and what it brings to fantasy sports. And I truly believe that this is the future of a lot of industries will be on the blockchain. A lot of companies will use the technology and we feel it's very applicable in fantasy sports. And we are working hard every day to bring a true blockchain ecosystem, decentralized, on the blockchain, completely different, completely separate from the current fantasy sports world. We're very excited. We are very happy to have any input, any comments, good or bad. We love the criticism. It makes us better, and we will continue to work hard to bring fantasy sports to the entire world, bring fantasy sports to the blockchain. And thanks to everyone. Thanks for getting me through this first episode, and we'll have many more to come. Happy to answer any questions. Like us on every social media. We're everywhere that you can think of. Give us a like on YouTube. Subscribe for a whole bunch more content, a whole bunch of updates. We are constantly improving our ecosystem, and we are happy to have everyone along with us. Thank you.